For quite some times, I've been going over South Node Libra, and I've gone through two channels already, resetting between two channels already, and quite a bit of content covering South Node Libra as well as Capricorn, which I like to call Capricorn 29th degree, and that is the wrap up of Capricorn Pluto influence that we are subject to and what we're learning in the earth at this time. South Node Libra has everything to do with our political experience, our social experience, our domestic experience, because that influence, it transcends every bit of how we interact with each other as far as the sexes. Venus rules South Node Libra, and the trial of that began November 11th, 2008, when Venus was conjunct Pluto going into Capricorn. That was the beginning of the acceleration, the zenith of feminism. Feminism was a means by which we all learned from each other new wisdom based on the polarities, the uniqueness, the power, the authority, the ignorance, and the higher consciousness between the two sexes. Not saying that one is better than the other, one is not superior to the other, but we take turns in trying each other and how we become enlightened through the burdens that we exchange. This is how souls evolve each other in the earth. For example, such as the twin flame dynamics. When you have twin flame dynamics, on the surface, it looks like war. It looks like conflicts. It looks like trouble. It looks like burden. But really underneath, the souls are causing transformation for each other. And that is a superior expression of unconditional love from the heavens, from whence they took this contract and agreement. So it's the same through feminism. We, this time around, learned and evolved through the effects of females exploring the meaning for their self of what freedom and liberation could mean. At the end, it could have been realized that accountability, responsibility, and a denouncing of delusion, a denouncing of entitlement could be a part of how the female species would evolve to higher frequencies of themselves. Understand? But anyway, a lot of this got tied into the politics because it was the basis of how democratic left liberalism was to stand. And democratic left liberalism, of course, would be an alternative to a Republican expression of the United States, which had its basis in the authority of the Constitution. If we could convert this to democratic left liberalism, then we can manufacture the consent and the decisions, the judgment of the people. With it being manufactured, it's a predictable outcome in how the turn, the wave, the current of politics would go. And through the female, this was all possible, just as it was in the beginning with Eve, who took the fruit symbolically in the absence of Adam, in which God would return to Adam and say throughout the garden, Adam, where art thou? So anyway, having said that, there's some cultural mysteries around celebrities and artists being used possibly to gain political leverage. Is that the case? It's an opinion. Whatever you think, whatever you feel, all of your opinions are welcome. Your perspectives are welcome. A lot of people don't like to talk about politics, but This is one of the reasons why I call myself the infamous astrologist. I dare to go into it. I dare to talk about it. I do not mind being controversial. So, with that being said, uh, there's a wonderful panel that came together uh, at a channel which you can go and subscribe to. Can You Relate? Can You Relate? Go ahead to Can You Relate podcasts on YouTube. This is a channel put together by Shannon P. She is the host of this forum, and the youth, most importantly, are voicing their perspectives and opinions. And I think there is nothing more valuable than the youth themselves speaking up and speaking out or expressing themselves, giving their perspective. That is the most important thing. And I was co hosting as well. And I gave my feedback in some of these questions along with the youth. So I think it's a great panel, a great discussion. And, everyone should listen to it, check it out, and have your discussions in your living room, have your discussions in your bedroom or whatever, however you do it. Call the youth over, play it, let them hear it, and see what they think. Let's get it on.
All right. Welcome back to another episode of Can You Relate? Relate. I am your host, Shannon P., and we have your co-host on the line, Ifa Bukola. And we
Right
also
here.
bought, yes, and we also bought several guests um, that are going to be on the show today that's going to help us break down some things, understand a few things from a younger adult perspective. We have three people on the line. We have Jeremiah. Are you on the line, Jay? Jeremiah?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. We have Miss Mo on the line who's been with us before.
Yeah,
Mo, are you on the line?
I'm here.
Okay. And then today we have a special guest. We have Mr. Will. Will, are you in the building?
I'm in the building.
Okay. Nice to have you. So, tonight's discussion, there's a lot going on out here, guys, in the world. We got the election coming up, right? Everybody, if you haven't already registered, if you haven't already if you're voting, definitely make sure you go out there and do that. One of the questions that I do have, and some of the things we're going to talk about this evening, is entertainment and music. Here's the question for you guys: is entertainment, specifically music, the cultural influence in the Black community? Is entertainment, specifically music, a cultural influence in the Black community?
Most definitely.
Absolutely.
In what way do you guys feel that? Please expound for me. I heard you speak first, Jeremiah. Expound.
I believe life imitates art. And music is a very, very powerful art, actually. And I feel like it's something people do every day, all day. And just hearing it's like repetition is programmed in the subconscious mind, I feel like. So what we take a lot of pride in music. I think even to the aspect that we look at our artists more highly than we look at anybody else in our life. Even our own parents. At sometimes we rather listen to an artist before listen to our own parents or anybody else that is probably of significance in our life. So I definitely think that definitely has a huge impact on our culture.
Okay. Anybody else care to chime in?
Sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You can go ahead.
I want you to go first,
No.
Will.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
First, brother.
Yeah, I'd like to essentially say the same thing. I agree that music is one of the biggest influences in Black culture. It's just all we know. It's all we hear. No matter what type of music, we're always going to hear something. I believe firmly that every song has a message. So we're learning from music on a consistent basis. That's how we teach kids. That's how we teach everything. So specifically for Black people, I think that our culture is primarily modeled by and after, and spoken to and by and after, our music.
Okay. Now, if Abukola, I heard you trying to get in there. What do you got to say?
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better. Especially the fact that um, art does imitate life, but with our culture, we tend to imitate art with our life. In the reverse. It seems to be something that we not only identify with, but we identify through it. What our relationships mean, how we are to show up and express ourselves, the choices, the decisions that we make. Somehow, the music was behind it. And it takes a place in all of our expressions. Somehow, and we all relate to it. It's like a common language. And it became so much so that we became a people that pushed a genre of music all the way through the world, where all of the youth can have a single voice. So for the good and for the bad, it definitely is something that we identify with deeply.
Okay. But do you think that music influences our sense of self, our community? Meaning, I'm asking that because one of the things that I've been noticing is especially how one of the presidential candidates is using a lot of entertainers, specifically music entertainers from the hip hop community, the R&B community, to help promote and push her campaign, to quote unquote entertain the Black community to get their votes. And I'm curious as to why the need for the entertainment or the music, the free concerts, the everything that, this candidate is doing. Why did they choose music? And that really is an eye opener to how much people feel like music influences the Black community. What do you got to say about that, Mo?
So first I would agree with everybody, and I would go further to say that it's not music is not just powerful because of the lyrics and the words, but also because of like unhealthy parasocial relationships and idolatry. So I think, in today's age of social media and just online presence, where people have like these parasocial relationships where they feel like they're friends with these people who don't know them and ride and die for them, I think that her campaign is probably taking advantage of that. Because a lot of people, even though you're very distant from those celebrities, you feel like, oh, if that's what this person believes in, then that's what I believe in too. And so I think she's just for her audiences in the way that she would. Yeah.
You think she's doing well for her audiences?
Going where her audience is. So if you know your audience is Gen Z, you go to TikTok. If you know that there is, in today's day and age, a lot of younger people are, kind of just aligning themselves with celebrities and have these unhealthy, irrational relationships in their brain where they are trying to replicate and duplicate whatever those celebrities do because of their idolatry, and convincing themselves that like they have some kind of weird online relationship with those people that they watch through a screen. I think that both presidential candidates are taking advantage of that.
Okay.
Incredible insight. Thank you for that. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, very good. Very good. Thank you. Do you think that and this is for everyone, do you think that music can help address some of the social and political issues in our community? And if so, how is it effective?
For sure.
How would it be effective?
I would like to speak on that.
Uh-huh.
Because music is such a big influence. I was actually just having this conversation the other day. I was talking to my uncle. I was telling him how we believe that, or what I've seen and observed, and just amongst my peers, is that they kind of model themselves after the music they hear, and they end up going to crash out and do whatever. I was actually also one of those people that I believe rap music was real, so I thought the stuff that they was talking about was real. I can't say that's the only influence, but that was a big influence for a lot of the actions that I made. That being said, imagine if there was a more positive or a different type of message. I'm sure that it would have been able to lead me personally into another direction amongst the people who actually went over the edge, who were listening to those same artists, who believed their words. If we had them given a more scripted and a more intentional message, that it could definitely influence our people in a way better manner.
I agree.
Okay.
Can I add to that?
Sure.
I'd also say like music has historically been a tool for the oppressed, like from the beginning, especially in the Black community, through the Harlem Renaissance era, Ma Rainey. You know, even if they were getting paid 20 cents a song, it was the first time that they could maybe stand up to the white man or kind of position themselves to get into certain doors that they wouldn't usually be allowed in. And then, you know, fast forward to the 80s and 90s, NWA, F the Police, Ghetto Boys. It's music, and especially hip hop. And I've had the privilege of learning in college courses about the history of hip hop and how it's really been a strong tool to fight oppression early on. And I think that the message has been lost for sure. So I agree with Will in saying that we could definitely utilize it better. But, you know, overall, yes, it's definitely a strong it has a strong ability to be used politically.
It has a strong ability to be used politically. I'm glad you said that, Mo. Because of also what you said, it's always been in our history. It's our culture, right? It's in our DNA, if you will. But do you think that, I honestly feel like some people will use that, our love for music, right? What drives us, it's in us, innately in us. It can, get us moving, doing things, putting thoughts in our head that we probably wouldn't have thought about. But I do think that that can be exploited as well. And I do believe that some of these candidates are exploiting the very powerful tool that Black people resonate with. Let me get some other people's opinion. Hello.
Okay, volunteer basis. I'll go ahead. Yeah, no doubt. I really appreciate what everybody has to say. I really am. It's insightful. I'm glad that you're hosting this, that you're having this. You know, it's a real eye opener if someone wasn't aware, and it's a good reminder, you know, for those who are aware. But you know, hip hop was like New York, where I'm from. Okay, New York City, hip hop is like it's like life. You know, you literally live by it. And with hip hop starting in, you know, South Bronx, you know, Bronx River, it started like a vehicle to push culture, you know, celebration and culture, you know, the two. And it used to be the means that we kept ourselves enlightened, we kept ourselves politically aware, we kept ourselves on the same page. It was a sounding drum, you know, and it's like a daughter that we gave birth to, and we raised her, you know, to be, you know, very special for us. We celebrated her, we were proud of her. But then when she got into the arms of a certain people, you know, who you're not allowed to mention, you know, their names no more. It got into the hands of a certain people who derailed it, you know, who infiltrated it, you know, and that was the beginning of NWA, which was the beginning of the demise of the original message or intent of hip hop, you know, because we didn't create it to harm ourselves, you know. It was Kool G Rap, you know, who was probably the first, you know, modern gangster rappers, you know, in New York, because New York, we didn't really have, you know, the Bloods and Crips and things like that. It was more like crews, you know, but Kool G Rap, he, you know, started the first type of that energy, you know, that we knew of, you know, the Queensbridge rappers and different things like that. But outside of that, it was always a message, you know, and it kept us all on the same page. It kept the awareness and the consciousness growing, the pride of being Black, celebrating being Black. And just as some of the, you know, the young people here mentioned, poverty was something that we didn't necessarily celebrate, but we made pride out of it. We made pride out of the struggle. We made pride out of the difficulty, even to the point where people who didn't come from struggle, they wanted to pretend like they came from struggle because it was so glorious. You know, it's like turning coal into diamond and turning, lead into gold, And I think that's a great demonstration of the cosmic power that we have. If only we can become more intentional about it and protective about who we allow to influence it. It can remain our power, So I love to hear the awareness that's up here, though. It's awesome.
Well, let me ask an artist. We do have an artist on the phone, maybe several. Jay, let me ask you, are there any songs or artists that you think captures the challenges of, the Black experience well enough that it should be used as a political stance?
Oh man, honestly, I've honestly been on like kind of a little music hiatus. Honestly, not listening to too many artists, not really taking it in. I actually just seen a video today where someone was speaking about like saying music was the issue, how music reflects each time, the times based off of like even in history, it's been shown that back even in classical days, like that's kind of the era they were in. It's kind of how life was at the time. So music has always reflected times. So as I have stopped listening to music as much, I can't really tell you too many, but I do know Kendrick Lamar for sure. I definitely appreciate what he does. I think he's pretty spot on when it comes to that. Talking about the struggle, but also still working through his trauma through the music. Also, still acknowledging that the things he might be rapping about may not be the most beneficial thing to hear.
Well, do you think that artists should use their platform to promote social change, political change, or do you think it's just enough for them just to entertain?
Yeah, I think artists should do whatever artists want to do. But if you are somebody who talks about struggle, if you're somebody who can identify with what we go through on a day-to-day basis, I believe that you have a responsibility. Now, I can't hold these people responsible, but I believe that there should be a responsibility and the level of awareness as well. Like knowing that you are someone who is of stature, who people are looking up to. And I believe that they have obligation if they have been able to identify with any type of struggle, any way, shape, or form that somebody else could relate to, that they have a responsibility. Now, I can't hold them responsible, but I definitely believe that they should be.
I agree with that. Like they should definitely have some type of sense of responsibility. I'm actually struggling with trying to figure out how to hold them accountable in a way that makes sense, because you can sit there and say, well, if you create a song that is expressing a certain emotion, and it may be a negative emotion, or it may be just you feeling completely down. Obviously, you want to say like, oh, well, make sure you kind of contradict it. Make sure you have a brighter side at the end of the song or whatever. But what if that person doesn't see that brighter side in that moment? What if this person is only seeing how they feel in this dark place? So it's like kind of hard to kind of hold them accountable, because it's like, well, how did they have to have a level of self reflection and self awareness? But if that person does not have that self awareness, I can't really hold you accountable, because you don't know what you're going through. You're just expressing yourself in that moment.
Well, speaking on accountability, do you think that the artists that were used at either candidates' rally campaigns, and I'm gonna direct this question to you, Mo, do you think any of the artists that were used were being accountable when they were on that stage representing the Black community or Black entertainment community or the music community?
I'm going to say yes. And this is going to sound really controversial. I don't think it would be the artist you would think I would name, but I would actually say Cardi B. Because Cardi B, more so than other artists that you would expect, has always used her platform to speak for certain social issues. She's like, believe it or not, like she talks about colorism a lot. She's acknowledged her benefits from colorism. Every election cycle since 2016, which is when I started paying attention to her, she's always been very involved. So I don't think that she, pulled anything out of the blue or had a script written for her. I think she really spoke from her heart at the rally. I think that she holds herself accountable. She talks about grocery prices, even though she's a millionaire. And when people try to tear her down in the comments saying, you can't relate to this, she says, I can, because I provide for my whole family. And it does bother me that, lettuce is $4 when it should be $2. And, she says it's not just about her, but her family that's still in the hood paying those prices. So as weird as it sounds, I would say yes. But can I actually
So you think that? Go ahead.
I have a question for the host.
Uh-huh.
Where would you draw the line between a campaigner, is that the word? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Using
Campaign manager. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, using artists and whatever kind of artist versus exploiting them. Like, where would you draw the line, or where would you say it's appropriate to use that as a means of drawing attention in, or you're exploiting a certain community or population?
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that question. That is a wonderful question. My personal opinion, they can definitely use the artists and bring them there as speakers, to make comments to their fans about what they're going to do, what they may encourage their fans to do for the election, what issues that, their fans should be making sure they're paying attention to. Um, should there be any type of entertainment? Should any performances happen? Maybe, but it needs to be tasteful. I don't think that it's appropriate. You don't have only young hip hop fans, old hip hop fans, blacks, or, what have you in the audience. So to completely ignore every supporter that is in the audience and bring on certain artists that are performing songs that have cuss words in it, explicit language in it, you know what I'm saying? Not dressed appropriate to be representation of the black female. Let me say that, the black woman, or just black people in general, or professionalism. To come on there like that, I'm not in agreement with like that, because you are still representing. If they bought you here, they bought you here obviously because they think you're representing, as one of y'all said earlier, the younger crowd, right? The younger audience. They know, okay, so you don't need to come up there and show younger people this is how you dress when it's time to take care of business. This is how you speak when it's time to take care of business. No, I don't agree with that. I think they were being exploited. I think they were encouraged. Oh, just be yourself, just be an artist. But this is not a concert. This is not your paid fans paying for you to do a concert. This is business. This is lives at stake. This is our whole entire country at stake. And I feel like they were used to lure us asleep and to keep us asleep as black people who love music, who love to be entertained. And oh, if Kamala can get, Sexy Red, or I'm sorry, what's the young lady that the other artist, it wasn't Sexy Red, Glorilla. She can get Glorilla or Cardi B or Beyonce or what have you. And oh, she cool. That has nothing to do with policies. If Donald Trump could get Amber Rose and whomever else, that has nothing to do with policies. But you see, Amber Rose didn't get on. She got on there and did a speech. Cardi B did a speech. I respected Cardi B, although she kind of flatlined in the beginning. She was very nervous, understandable. But, but I commend her for taking that chance and not necessarily trying to go out there and sing WAP. You understand what I'm saying? Like Megan Thee Stallion did. I just think that, yes, we were being exploited. You have to do more for us, I feel like, any group of people, to earn our trust to run our country, and bring in several artists that didn't even have enough common decency to respect themselves on a national stage or international stage, is to me insulting. It's very insulting that these artists are more than just an artist. Outside of them being musicians, they are people in their private lives. Cardi B was able to relate as a person because she talked about the groceries. I seen the speech. She talked about things. She was able to relate even when she got nervous and forgot what she was going to say.
So,
And a lot of people can relate to that. So I respected her standing there as a person. Hey, I'm here to talk to you guys. Everybody else, for some of the songs they sung and the words that was included, I was horrified. Anybody else want to chime in on that? Thank you, Mo. That was a very good question.
Sure. So I noticed in the beginning of that speech, she was waiting for, some lady named Patience, to bring a phone so that she could, have a message. She didn't, it wasn't necessarily from the heart, but maybe she wrote it from the heart. I don't know, but
She said she wrote it down on her phone. She
right.
had forgot it and she needed to read it. Yeah.
Okay. So, but what it seems like is that where the line could be crossed at is rather not you're winning a vote or consent, or rather not you're manufacturing a vote or consent. So when you bring out artists and overwhelm people with constant artists after artists, now I'm starting to think that, okay, are you trying to short circuit the judgment of people, the intelligence of people, and go straight to their nature, their instincts, their emotions, through music, because that, our people can be very, artistically driven. You understand? So it's more like they're trying to manufacture the consent rather than win the consent through awareness, intelligence, proposal. Tell us what you're going to do for us. And not tell us stories about when I was a little girl. Or constantly talking about abortions. You understand the same things. People ask you questions, and all you can talk about is Donald Trump. So people want to hear and information, data, intelligence. Direct answers to questions, practical information, logic, data, facts. Honor us as intelligent people rather than emotionally driven people. But I think that we own a lot of responsibility in that, because if that's not who we show that we are, then maybe they wouldn't attempt to go that route so often.
Can I ask you a question?
I agree.
Yes, go ahead.
And I don't want to undermine anybody when I ask this. This is a genuine question. Has anybody, because it seems like we've all watched clips of artists speaking or performing. Has anybody sat through the full video of a rally for either candidate?
I have.
You have?
Sure.
Yes.
Anybody else? Did you say you have?
No.
Okay.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
I was asking if anybody on the call has sat through the full rally for a candidate and not just bits and pieces online of the artist.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
And let me ask you a question. Why that question?
Well, yeah, so I was just curious, because if the conversation is we have to show them that we want the data, we want the proof, we want to talk about the policies, then we have to be the people who actually sit and listen for the policies. And it's very refreshing to hear that most of the people on the call have sat through the actual rally. But I would say most of the people sitting at home probably haven't done that.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of people will say, well, they're not talking about the policies, but someone who actually sits through the videos can tell you exactly what the policies are. So I think a lot of the time there's just misinformation in the community and a lack of interest, and we make a lot of assumptions and kind of comment on things that aren't necessarily true.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that all of the people that came to see Glorilla, or all the people that came to see Megan Thee Stallion, all of those people that have the empowerment to vote, are sitting and listening to all of the policies and sitting and listening to all of the speeches? They clearly showed on some of the clips I seen online. After Beyonce got off the podium, half the crowd walked out. They were done. They didn't stay to listen to the entire rally.
I
So
wouldn't
rather we. Mm-hmm.
And I think that was
I wouldn't
intentional, personally.
I wouldn't underestimate the power of intersectionality. I 100% agree with like what I think that you're getting at, and I agree with like all of the points that you made. And there's a time and a place. I think these people who come and these guests need to dress appropriately. They need to perform more relevant and appropriate songs and bring up more appropriate topics. But when it comes to like I think I'm just gonna say Black girls, Black women because I'm a Black woman. There is intersectionality where I've voted every year since I could legally vote, including primaries, and
Mm-hmm.
I also like Glorilla's music, so I wouldn't overlook that overlap. Is what I'm saying. Some of
So
us
you're
like
saying because you like her music, that will make you vote? Is that
no
what you're saying? Oh,
No,
okay.
I'm saying like there are some people who would want to come to a rally for Glorilla, and those are still the valuable voters that that a candidate might need to win an election or to win the
Right.
electoral college votes for that state.
Right. But what is Glorilla offering those voters? That's what I'm saying. Outside of free music concert,
So I
are
was
we
going to ask
being
the question.
sold? Is our vote being brought with a free concert?
Right.
Well,
So now music has always been a strong, believe it or not, political and community influence, especially for the Black community. I can't even speak for no other community. I don't even know if that has existed in other communities, but especially for the Black community. We had Public Enemy who did the Fight the Power, right? We had Sam Cooke, A Change is Gonna Come, Kendrick Lamar, All Right,
Al
James
Green.
Brown, Say It
Al
Loud, I'm
Green.
Back.
Marvin Gaye, come on, he was a
Yep,
rebel.
Marvin Gaye, What's Going On? Bob Marley, Redemption Song, Tupac Shakur, Keep Your Head Up.
Black
So
Eyed
we've
Peas.
had a lot. The list can go on and on and on. We definitely have had a lot of artists who have been there to talk about the struggles in the Black community, struggles in our community, the political aspect. So I say all that to say, outside of those specific people and those songs, do you think that there could have been an artist that they could have bought on the stage, preferably, that could have had, and this question is going to be directly to you, Ifa Bukola, that could have had more of a influence, like a cultural anthem for our community, that speaks to the challenges that we face? What is your opinion on that?
Okay, well, I have probably a controversial opinion. And my opinion is if someone is that in tune and aware, then they probably wouldn't be speaking on behalf of that rally. So that's what I think.
Oh, you're gonna have to elaborate on that. On
So
that specific
what I'm
rally or any political rally?
well, not any, but it's specifically the rallies where we tend to see a reoccurring theme of entertainers, an overwhelm of entertainers, specific,
Mm-hmm.
female entertainers. I believe there is, most certainly an agenda, going on, obviously through feminism. I'm not shy to say that.
Mm-hmm.
And also, if a person of real logic, objectivity, critical thinking really makes the presentation, I really doubt that it would be in any type of support or favor of that campaign. If anything, will be revealing of that campaign or exposing of that campaign, because cancel culture came from that campaign, from that world, which directly opposes truth and evidence. So
Mm-hmm.
if you're bringing truth and evidence, it's not going to come from there. It's going to be most likely against that, because their job through the media, through that left wing, is to stop and block the expression of truth, and evidence.
Mm-hmm. Well, you spoke about the female artists. Do you or what influence do Black female artists have in shaping our cultural standards? Do you think they have a unique challenge or contribution that they need to bring?
Well, I'll start by saying that they have a unique authority. And the unique authority that they have is that Black women, uh, since the 60s, have always been the basis of political leverage and political power, especially since their consent to feminism, which enabled the acceleration of the democratic left, which supports and sustains capitalism. Okay. So they're instrumental for that. No one is more powerful in political leverage than the Black woman. And when the Black woman and the Black man were united, when they were together, no unit was more powerful than them, to affect not only the nation, but the entire world. 1964 Civil Rights Act. Everybody comes and flip flops over here for what our ancestors established, and made available to them to benefit from. The Statue of Liberty really means what it means because of our ancestors. But without covering of a husband, she now is usable by any mission, as long as they could go through her nature, just like Eve and the fruit, in the garden. And then after she takes upon the obliged Adam, where art thou? Okay. So without her husband, she's exposed to use her cosmic power for all these different agendas that probably aren't going to turn out favorable for her and her community or who she comes from. Okay. She is an absolute power. All women of all nations look to her for how to express themselves, how to deliver their thoughts and expressions in their femininity. They look to her to find courage, to find boldness. They won't dare to take the steps that she takes to the extent that she does, but they lust for it. They desire it. They wish they could. You understand? She is willing to face the consequences of going that far, not because she's out to, do any harm or make any problem or whichever else. It's just that many engineered and very brilliant tactics were directed deliberately at her to separate her from her husband so that the fruit could be sold to her so that she could be used as the Trojan horse for whatever political agendas is moving. And so she still has that power. And if she can become aware that she is often used to move political agendas, I think that is when power will save the whole nation, not just her.
I remember there was a time when female artists, they couldn't get out there really. It was very hard for female rap artists, especially. Let me say that female rap artists to get on the scene. Now they're being used as political representation of what the quote unquote so-called Black youth want. Let me ask a question.
Real quick, I don't even want to go past. That was very well said. That was very
Almost
interesting.
cried.
Yeah, that was very interesting. I ain't gonna lie, you can't pass that.
Well, so let me ask you a question, Jeremiah. Okay, traditional values. We all know what traditional values are, family and community loyalty, respect and honor of your elders, hard work, justice, pride, accountability, moral integrity. Now, those are traditional values, right? What our society would call traditional values. So my question to you, Jeremiah, is has the music industry or music in general caused us to do away with traditional values?
I'll say in terms of tradition, yes. But I feel like, I don't know, I feel like because music is subjective, I feel like it doesn't necessarily have to align with traditional values, but I feel as if that as far as the majority, it's definitely deviated from that in so many different ways. So many different ways for sure.
Well, what is your opinion? Can you give me your answer to that?
Yes, I would say for the music and actually, I would like you to repeat the question. Just so
Traditional values.
okay,
Okay.
as
You heard
far
about
as
the traditional values: family,
yes,
community, loyalty, respect, elders, hard work. Do you think the music industry, or just music in general, but I was going to say the hip hop industry, or music in general, has caused us to do away with traditional values? Are we respecting our elders in these hip hop songs? Are they speaking about hard work and pride and identity of your heritage, accountability and moral integrity? You know, do you
as
think
a
that they have done away with traditional values?
Well,
I definitely believe that it's encouraging. Not even believe. I know for a fact that it's encouraging, and kind of helping people to do away with them. Now, singularly, I don't think that just music's doing it, but specifically, we're talking about music. It is encouraging in a massive manner, um, because there is music out there where they're not talking like that, but that's not what's being out there. Like as we were talking about the convention, they could have brought anybody out. We just got
My
Young
point
Thug.
exactly.
Young Thug just got out of jail. You know what I'm saying? He's very influential in Atlanta. You got Lil Durk, and I don't even listen to none of these people, but I know that they have an influence on our youth. You know what I'm saying? If you wanted to influence us properly, maybe get people that you know for sure that we look up to as a mass and as a whole, instead of kind of catering it to one side. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I believe
so
I
I want to.
believe that. Yeah,
Oh, go
I
ahead.
believe that simply put, that the music industry is helping to deteriorate the way we, are supposed to actually exist and be, like truly. We're not talking about the right stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I,
Okay. Who's that trying to
I would
chime
like
in?
me. I would like to.
Jay.
I think the real question would be: should it be about traditions instead of saying is it happening? Because do we have to first find out where we stand on it? Do we think it should have tradition? Should the tradition still be spoken in music, or is it allowed to deviate away from it? And also, do
Well,
do we believe
it's
that
allowed.
artists have? Do we believe that artists as human beings have a responsibility to the community, to the collective consciousness? Are they supposed to? Is it my responsibility to like make sure I'm not expressing myself in a certain way that might come off and destroy the rest of the people, or is it all about me? Because I came to the war by myself, I'll die by myself, or should I have a collective consciousness and think about like everybody, like, oh well, this might affect other people. Like, we have to try to determine, is that something that we're expecting from people? Is that something we should expect from those artists or these people, or is it everybody free to do their own free will thing?
I think all things are permissible, but not all things are beneficial. So when you have that
Mm-hmm.
come to Jesus moment, you can say like, all right, well, now I know better. But when you don't know better, it's acceptable because ignorance is acceptable. But once you are not notified that, hey man, you're going the wrong route, then you have a responsibility after that. If you've notified and you've accepted it, I can't force nobody to accept nothing. But if a person is notified and then they accept this truth, there's no it's hard after that because we're so wrapped up in our passions. Um, it's difficult, but it's doable and it should be done. It's a very, very
Mm-hmm.
good and high calling to say, all right,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a person of influence, and yeah, influence people this way, but they'll listen to me at moments notice. They're already listening to you. So if you change your message, they're gonna listen to that message you gotta say. And maybe not everybody, but the ones who needed that message when you changed it, they're probably gonna go way further than you can even expect. So I
So
think
the
as
thing,
an artist, you should change. You should, if you have that conviction, like, all right, well, I'm doing more harm than good
so
because
this,
Mm,
so
we
this,
that's
have
so
good.
good we have music that we can make for ourselves. I have tons of songs that will never see the light of day because it's damaging as a whole. I had a friend call me when I was like 18, 19. He was a little bit older than me. He said, hey man, that song that you just made, man, made me want to go spin a block. I swear that was one of the last times I made a song like that. I can't make this up. He said, I'm about to, bro, I wanted to crash out listening to that. I'm like, oh no, I can't, that I'm responsible for death at that point.
Accountability. That's what I was
So
talking about, Will.
yeah.
That's exactly what I was talking about. Let me ask you a question, Will. Do you think that black music has either united or divided our community over the generations? And I want you to answer that, Will. And I'm also ask Ifa Bukola that because I'm saying over the generations because we have several generations on the phone. But Will, in your opinion, as a young black male, do you think that black music has either united or divided the community over generations?
Um,
And I got somebody that's got a echo, so please mute yourself or be careful with that.
am I echoing? Do you hear me?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Um, I would say that as a whole, when it comes to black music, the way that it is viewed and deemed as a whole is negative because that's how people look at our culture because it's so influential. They say that this is our culture. Some of the music I do understand, like Jeremiah's point, is like, some of this music is for me to express what I went through. It's not necessarily a directive, like go do this. But some people may make it feel that way. But as a whole, with our music over the generations, it has united and separated us. As a mass, we're not together because all right, we got blood artists and we got crip artists. You know what I'm saying? I don't like this dude just because he listened. I swear, growing up, I couldn't take people playing Chief Keef. Like you couldn't play it around me. I hated it. I was so mad if you played Chief Keef for some odd reason. You see what I'm saying? Like that's odd, and that is a separation. So as a whole, at least the way that I was affected and the way I saw people affected, it definitely separates people.
Mm, okay. Ifa Bukola, same question.
Sure. Just if you don't mind to ask the question again, so
I
I can.
said, do you think that the black music has either united or divided the black community over the generations?
Okay, so over the generations, I feel that it united people on different terms, or united uh, parts of our community on different terms. And what I mean by that is, you know, there was a time where, for example, R&B music, love music, things like that, that was the thing. It was big, and there was definitely a united, spirit about celebrating that kind of music. The R&B, the bands, the groups, all that other stuff. But when agenda is behind it, then it unites entire generations. In other words, like the teenagers to mid 20s, they target these groups generation by generation, and they pick artists according to what their agenda already is. Like the private prison industrial complex, the hip hop industry, what money is put up behind it to fund it, the money that's put on the table, to front to the artists. Okay, I need you to make music like this. I need you to talk about this. That started with the NWA, and it started uniting certain attitudes among us that separated us into, those lower frequencies and people who, didn't care to hear that. So I think it united us on things that might not be healthy for us. And that's only because of the agenda behind it. But without the agenda behind it, I think it's just simply art. And it should be as the artist sees it. But where the problem comes in at is when money is put behind it as an agenda. I think that is what makes it dangerous. That's what makes it divisive, in how it divides or how it brings together. It makes it divisive,
Let me. I
Yeah.
want to ask a question. Do you guys think that it's worse because due to us not having visuals, being able to see, like due to technology advancing now, like before, you only used to hear like people on the radio or over a speaker, and you never really seen how they were dressing, how they were acting, how they were doing. You feel like does it matter that now we can see them visually, social media, videos, kind of like see them put this persona on about who they are, what they are as a character now? Is it a difference now, or is it just the same as you only hear them audibly?
I think it makes a very big difference. Just personally, it doesn't mean that, what I'm saying is the truth, but, just my own personal humble opinion. I think it makes a huge difference at the turn of, internet becoming a common thing, because, I remember when, if you wanted to get on the internet, you had to go either home, you had to go to the library, and then you had to wait for the dial up there. You know,
Yeah.
They don't know nothing about that. They don't
yeah,
know
you know
nothing
what I
about
mean?
that.
That's ever. And you know, back in the day, like, you know, if we wanted to watch music videos, you had to go to the house. You had to get custody of the TV. You know what I mean? If you
Right.
had siblings,
BET, MTV,
oh, was fighting.
VH1.
You know what I'm saying? You get your little pack of noodles and you fight. You know what I'm saying? You grab dibs on the TV. You know what I'm saying? So we didn't get the chance to really be glued to the screen like that. You know, to be so deeply influenced, and we didn't have phones where, you know, we was always walking around with cell phones and instantly hear this song, hear that song. You know, a Walkman. You know what I mean? A boom box. You know, stuff
Right.
like. So yeah, it makes a huge difference because the internet made it overwhelmingly influential. You know, yeah.
Yeah. And let me talk about that. That's a good question, Jeremiah. I want to get you and Mo's opinion. Do you think that music is still a powerful tool for influence and change in our community? Or do you think more platforms like social media could have more of an impact in our community than music?
I think it has the potential. It has the potential to be as powerful a tool. I mean, I don't think there's like I think what made music so powerful was unity. I think when you have like anything, 10 voices is more powerful than one, 1,000 is more powerful than 10. I think there were time periods like where there was multiple artists who were with the same message and it amplified it. I think that it has the potential to do that, but I think music is a bit more scattered and it's not necessarily approached as a tool to be used in that way. Where I would say social media is for sure. Social media is so smart now. Like the algorithms are insane. I've actually met most of my friends in the city I live in through TikTok. And it's just because the algorithm, for us to have all landed in the same comment section, that video for us to have made it to that video, we already had the same interests. We already had viewpoints on everything. So I think that algorithms and technology and AI is so smart that, you know, it kind of creates these pockets of unity in the cloud, you know, able to like amplify conversations a lot more than you can with music nowadays.
Jeremiah, you think the same, or what do you think? Can music be still a powerful tool, or will the rise of social media take over that?
I think music nowadays, but it's pretty bad. Like it's not even like the music can do it by itself anymore. There's definitely some nice artists out there, but they're not really getting that screen time. They're not really getting that play time because there's other artists that are using social media and music, like visuals and music, to sell the idea of their character they're putting on, this persona they're putting on. So I feel like it kind of goes cold. Yeah. I mean, good music, yes, but some of this music, if you actually, when you first hear it initially, you don't like it until you see who's saying it and what they're trying to go for visually. So I just feel like, I do agree with Mo. Social media, I think social media would be more powerful than music eventually, just because sometimes this music doesn't really work without the social media or without me seeing what you got on, what are you doing in the video, how many bad girls are in the video, I want to see the money you spending, because if I don't see it and then the music's not even really doing it for me, then I really don't care. I'm not gonna. Me personally, I've even the social proof. I've even like scrolled and heard this song in the video. And I'm like, boy, this video, but this song is but then I went into the comment section to see all fire emojis. So that made me go back from the social proof, made me go back and rewatch the video and then try to find what was good about it. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I see the vision. And now I'm starting to be convinced that this is actually kind of good, when the original thought was, nah, this is not a good song.
That is very.
So you guys talked about the You guys talked about the youth. Jeremiah, you just mentioned the youth of the artists that have been at these political rallies. Would you guys see your children or younger siblings? Would you push these artists and the songs that they sing on your children or on your younger siblings? Don't speak up at once. I'm gonna go. Let
Man,
me do roll call.
my
Let me do
perception
roll call.
my
Mo, yes
perception
or
on this,
no?
yes.
Huh?
Yeah, I would say yes. But my perception on this is probably A, biased, and B, a little different and controversial because I'm coming from, like, I'm looking at myself. I'm a Black woman in STEM. I'm coming from a top 20 public university in the United States of America. When I was in this school, I was in Black Student Union. I was a president of a Black organization with over 50 members of Black women. We held these intelligent panels. We held these conversations about the Black community. We're all smart women, and we're all still in the club singing the City Girls. So I just think we can't overlook the
Would you?
intersectionality.
My question was: would you let your children or your young sister
Yes,
sing those
because,
songs, word from word, lyric from lyric, that, as you said, City Girls, I'm use your group, sings?
well, how young first? But like 18 plus, I wouldn't care.
No, not 18 plus. I said young siblings. So they are 12. Let's say 12, 13.
No,
Why?
because I think that you have to encourage the youth to learn certain things about themselves before they learn other things about themselves.
You
So,
got to make that more clear for me. I'm sorry, I'm not understanding that.
so I just brought up, I was president of an organization called Sisters of Service. Every
Mm-hmm.
week we mentored young girls at a community center. I mentored these girls every single week for 3 years straight, or 5 years straight, actually. Um, and when those girls, and they're really young, they're elementary to middle school, like five to 12 years old. When they would be in that room, start twerking, I'd be like, "Hey, cut that out, stop that." And not necessarily because I think twerking is wrong, because if you're 21 and you're doing it, that's your business. But I don't believe in just telling kids, don't do that because you're young. I like to explain myself. There are things you need to. I want those girls to know that they're smart first. I want them to know that they're beautiful, that they're strong, that they have a voice. There's 1,000 things that I want them to know about themselves before they know that they have a nice body. So no, I wouldn't encourage it at that age, but later on, I wouldn't have a problem with it,
Mm-hmm.
especially because
Mm-hmm.
I've seen, the type of person who can enjoy that music and still have a successful career, or be have a good head on their shoulders.
Okay. Will, you got children. Would you?
No, I'm sorry. Absolutely not. No, 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 no.
Okay.
There's
All
no
right.
way. I
Yeah.
remember when Sexy Red first started popping off. I said, if my daughter starts singing these lyrics, I'm gonna fight somebody. That's how I felt about
Mhm.
it. Because
Yeah.
no, um, to Mr. Sir's point, earlier, as far as the Black women being so powerful, um, I just disagree. I think that Black women need to be with us. You know what I'm saying? Saving us, because we in the club looking for y'all. And y'all in the club just having fun. Yeah, they like shoot. Man, I done been in the club and I see, I'm a dancer. So girls started shaking butt and all that. Back in the day, I'm trying to see what's up. I'm trying to dance with you. You know what I'm saying? And they don't dance with us. They dance with each other. They in there for themselves. You know what I'm saying? I'm in there to have fun and meet you. I want a Black woman personally. You know what I'm saying? My
Mhm.
mama a Black woman. So
Mhm.
I think that it's no, absolutely not. We're gonna stop it, and we're not gonna even encourage it at 18 or
Mhm.
any other age, because it's a
Yeah.
contradiction. You know what I'm saying? I can't make you
Uh-huh.
morally upright and you're singing songs about not being morally upright. That's like, I just can't. It does it to me. I can't fathom it. Now maybe
Right.
somebody else can, but to actually truly go up and stay in tune with those traditional values that we talk about, no.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
No.
All right. Jeremiah, Jay, what do you think? Your younger siblings. You don't have children yet, but when you do, or your younger siblings, especially your younger sisters. I think Jeremiah's microphone is done. Then got mute. Jeremiah, Jay, please be honest too.
It doesn't look like he's on the call at the moment.
Oh, did his phone die? Okay. Ifa Bukola, you have children. Do you think that those artists would be in some of their songs that was at some of these political rally campaigns? Would it be something you would encourage your children or your younger siblings to listen to in word, uh, you know,
Well,
mouth word to word?
I certainly wouldn't encourage them to, but I also wouldn't, necessarily prevent them from, because I would want to help them to exercise, the critical thinking and judgment, their insight, as they go whatever pathway that they, feel inclined to go. I would just want to play the role of, giving some pushback and some, challenge, to their judgment about it, their opinions about it or whatever else, without telling them what to think or without telling them what to feel. I would want to, challenge them to get them to exercise, some depth in how they think and feel, as they listening to it or experiencing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
now also wanted to answer that interesting question too.
What?
With the opinion that you had about the comparison of the artist to social media. I think it was.
Yeah.
There's some great replies to that. But what I was thinking is that as of lately, with the wave of stars falling from the sky, a lot of artists are having exposures, downfalls. The whole industry overall has been under sharp scrutiny, by the public. It's like a revelation is taking place, what people are seeing through parts of the illusion that really kept a lot of minds subject to that, And what I'm looking at is that there's a strong possibility of people no longer being as impressed by musicians as they used to be. But influencers probably taking more influence, obviously over the perceptions and behaviors of people more so than the artists, because we can't even name all the artists that are having a downfall, in the past 2 years. It's just back to back to back to back, and people are having a moment of revelation, about the whole industry.
Mm-hmm. They are. They really are. And it's very interesting that, majority, I will answer, I would definitely not want my children to word or mouth, though, a lot of these songs, especially from the artist that was at some of these rally campaigns. I think if I had took my children to any of those campaigns, I'd have been, horrified at, oh my God, what they're seeing. And what's being rapped on stage. I do feel like the role of music does shape our Black youth and their identity today. It really does. As to previous generations, I think that it reflects them in a more of a negative way than what music used to do in our previous generations. I want to get your comment, Ifa Bukola. Do you think that music is shaping the Black youth's identity? The role that music has today, this today's music, is it shaping our Black youth identity
Well,
in a positive or negative way?
Well, I think we're coming out of that phase of ourself where music was shaping our identity. Most definitely, behind us and in the present moment, that's exactly how it looks and that's exactly how it feels, in my opinion, from my perception. But I really believe that we're coming out of that phase, culturally and, generationally. I think we're coming out of that phase where now people are going to, it seems like there's going to be more of an introspect to, challenge, the self to find out what is my authenticity, because what these guys are doing, what they're into, what's behind them, what they participate in, I just can't get with that. You know, uh,
Mhm.
there's a lot
Mm.
of exposure, and that exposure is very insightful. It's enlightening, and it's going to have a very big difference on the opinions of the people. You know, as it relates to artists. You know,
Mm.
they see it. So I don't think that it's going to have the influence that it used to have. You know.
Mhm. Well, we definitely going to get ready to wrap up this podcast. I appreciate you guys' time. My last question: if you had, and I want to hear from everybody, everybody's got to give their one opinion. If you were a campaign manager and you had to put together a campaign rally, and there had to be some entertainers or guest speakers or what have you, what would be the one person you think would be more appropriate for a political campaign rally? I'm going to start with you, Mo.
That's really difficult. Like, who do I think would be the most appropriate? Honestly, I don't think that there's any artist that I feel is responsible or portrays themselves as educated enough to have that conversation. Um, but ironically, I probably wouldn't do anything different. I think I would still bring Beyonce out because I'd want to win.
Yeah. Beyonce for you then. Okay. Anybody else?
Was it
William?
specific? Yeah, was it specific to an artist or just someone in general who would be able to influence people
Whoever you would think should be at a campaign rally.
at a campaign rally? Um, I would say rest his soul, Bob Proctor. I like Bob Proctor. He's a
Oh,
guy
I
that
like Bob
yeah,
Proctor.
Bob Proctor's
But
dope.
I was
My
talking
wife,
about musicians. I'm sorry. I was talking
musicians.
about more
Okay.
musicians since
Um,
that's what they want to use basically.
yeah,
And they think that that's all black people
yeah. I
respond
flip the
to.
script on him. I wouldn't even bring no artist, but I don't think in this current capacity that there's any artist who should be our voice. Um,
Yeah.
because there's people that are paying them to continue to do that, and they have no other choice.
Hmm.
That's
Hmm.
that's the only thing that they can talk about. So I wouldn't bring an artist because they don't. They want to help maybe, but they can't. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I want to hold them to that responsibility, like we talked about, but we kind of can't because they signed a contract saying they can't. So I wouldn't. I don't know. I wouldn't pick any artist.
Okay. And Mo, is Jeremiah available? Let me get his.
No, I think his connection went out. I don't know how that's possible, but can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, Jay's connection went out.
Still there, host? Seems like a connection went out too. So I couldn't think of an artist myself, make representation with the people. Not right now, right off, not off the head. I can't. I think I would have to give that a lot more thought.
I agree. I definitely would have to sit with it.
So what do you all think is? What do you all think could be some areas of concentration? For your generation. Say, okay, I'm the next president, and there could be some changes that I could do, or that I can make. What do you think are
Mhm.
some of the most effective changes that I can make as a president for looking from the view of your generation as the 20-something-year-olds? You understand? If that's not too broad of a question, I'm just curious.
get more of us in office in different offices and different capacities. More of us need to be not just voting, but a part of the movement. A part of their system. You know, um,
When you
I
say
think
us, you talking about the youth?
yes, I think that we
Okay.
should get more youth involved with politics, like not just trying to vote, but
Yeah.
actually trying to be policymakers and helping to encourage. Because who knows better about your problems than somebody who's going through them? You if we're all youth and we want to help with the youth, because that's where we're the next adults. Um, I would start trying to get us educated on politics like ASAP, and start promoting getting us into office at a younger age in some of these different capacities, whatever that looks like.
Mm-hmm.
I
That was
This
agree.
is them trying
revolution.
to get y'all involved. Will they bringing Sexy
Yeah.
Red and Glorilla
Sexy
and
Red is not invited if unless she is signed, unless I can get her out of her contract to talk about what I want to talk about instead. Because I met this. It's crazy. I met a producer. That song by The Box. What Roddy Rich, The Box. I met his
Mm.
producer at an event, and he was talking about how one of these artists he wrote a song for her. Like he don't got no business writing no song for her. She need to be writing her own music. She a lady. She should talk about lady stuff the way she think about it. But no, the song, and then he played it. It was just the nastiest, raunchiest stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, Glorilla and Sexy Red, they could come if they can get out of their contracts. I'll sign a contract with them to say, all right, these are the type of messages we're gonna talk about. They gonna be like, okay.
Yeah, I personally will focus on capitalism, um, trying to save us from the cycles of capitalism and greed, corporate greed, and whatnot. I feel like oftentimes we're taught, we look at politics in America, in the Western world, through this lens of like it's just binary, it's this or that, and both of those parties are really on the same side of the fence, um, almost to a point where we don't look past it or see what's really outside of that. Um, and to the point of like literally this entire conversation, the artists and the distractions, it all keeps us in that cycle. So I would address like the fraud in the government. I would address the fact that politicians should not be able to vote on stocks that they're quite literally invested in. I would put more young people in office, and I'd try to fix the what's the word I'm looking for, just the brokenness of the system.
I absolutely I really like that idea that you know of having more young people in office, because we need fresh minds, we need different approaches, and we need a futuristic perspective about things. Because when you got the same stubborn, old, dried out people in office all the time, you know what I'm saying? Uh, it's 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 like restricting, it restricts the growth of a nation, and we keep going in that same cycle, like what Mo was talking about. We go in circles and cycles. Along with that, we need new, fresh minds, young people, to
Mm-hmm.
say, hey, this is a good idea. Hey, we don't
Mm-hmm.
need that no more. We need this, because young people should determine where we need to start taking risks, where we need to start, breaking away from something or merging onto another one. And we need a diversity of young people, uh,
Right.
all colors, all religions, you know what I'm saying, all walks of life,
Mm-hmm.
to
Absolutely.
to run this thing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, we need elders, of course, to be there. All right.
Yeah.
But we need input and opinions, insight, and perspective of young people.
Yeah,
For
and
sure.
it's not ageism, and we definitely respect our elders and need our elders. But it's people who were born before integration of schools, and people who were born before women had the right to vote, who are still, making the calls on our
Making
legislators.
policies. Yeah.
That's
Mm-hmm.
right. Absolutely.
So we got Jeremiah back on the phone. Jay, what is your if you had the ideal person, if you was putting together a political rally campaign, who would be the ideal entertainer or musician you would invite?
Ideal entertainer or musician. I wouldn't. Even, I wouldn't even do no. I do musician. I'll definitely do probably Kendrick if he could. If I had to do musician for sure. Him. Who else? I'll do some like.
No, you just needed one. We just needed
Oh, okay.
one.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. No.
Kendrick Lamar. That's who I chose. Yeah, we just needed one.
Okay.
Okay, very good, very good. Interesting. Wow. This was an incredible conversation today, guys. Thank you so much. We
Yes, it
have
was.
explored
Yes, it
so
was.
much of how the hip hop genre or music in general is revolutionary, how it affects our community politically, as well as systematically and all of that. We thank the listeners. We want to thank you guys for tuning in and joining us as we unpack the deeper levels of how music has impacted our culture and our values. We hope that today's episode not only deepened your understanding of, how music influence our culture, but also remind you of the importance of holding on to those values that matter the most. I want to thank my special guest and for being in and tuning in with your opinions and everything. I look forward to speaking with all of you guys once again. Thank you, Ifa Bukola, my co-host. Thank you all again. We'll see you next time. Make sure you like and subscribe and share, share, share. That's all that we have for you tonight. Good night.
Peace. Peace.